Hi legends and welcome to my channel and to the podcast. So today there is a very special guest and that's Andrea Pagliaccio.
Thank you.
It's a bartender that at the moment is working in a very famous bar here in Zurich, in the city center, actually very close to this filming studio. And I was impressed by him being so knowledgeable since not so many years that he started working in hospitality. He still has the knowledges of somebody that maybe works for more than a decade instead. That's how I felt. And I was very curious about how detailed your journey of learning had been, and if you can share some tricks with our audience also on what was your way of going. If you studied from the best instead of starting in a normal place, or like which were the steps that you took to learn so passionately, so fast and so
I
well.
wanna say
And cheers.
cheers. Thank you.
That's a boulevardier.
I wanna say there are no tricks, just passion and curious. You have to be curious about your job. You have to be curious about the job of the other people. You have to go in the bars. You have to make a bar tours. You have to go with your friends. You have to ask to the bartenders because you can always find something new. Of course, you have to study, you have to buy books, you have to study and learn, and of course, you have to work with the people. You have to work during the rush timing, you have to work with, wanna say, tough people, because you can learn something new, and you have to put passion in your job. That's the only
Definitely.
way to increase yourself as a bartender, as a barkeeper, and as a person. That's what I wanna say. Is a difficult street. I wanna say it's not easy for nothing, because you spend a lot of time for your passion. In my case, for my job, you spend a lot of time and maybe you forgot something on the way. Yes, can be. But is it nice? Is it nice because you are feeling that you are working for something? You're working for yourself, but at the same time, you're working for your guest.
I think it's a little bit more bartending at the level from the mixology perspective. It's a craft and a hobby which also fills your work schedule. That's how I always saw it. I mean, I do share what you're saying because I start traveling the world and I spent basically 100% of my free time going in the correct cocktail bar for me to learn this trick, that world top 50, top 100 best cocktail bar in town, that new opening, trying to network, going to master classes, even 3-4 in a day. That's my record. Like 4, out of which one I arrived 1 hour late because of course I couldn't physically make it. Was my kind of like my maximum that I did in a day off. For example, going to cocktail competitions and everything else can definitely build the experience for it. But I always been curious because I see bartenders that have like 10 years, 15 years of experience that don't know not even half of what you learn in 3 years of experience.
3 years, exactly 3 years.
So yeah, exactly. I mean, by the 3 years of experience, I was competing worldwide, but it was like I started competing after less than a year that I was in bartending. But it's a pretty kind of specific case scenario. For what regards most of the people, I just see them kind of hanging around and not actually putting the effort to learn. So maybe they buy one book for the classics, but then they don't study it well. Maybe they don't practice it well. Maybe I don't know. You instead, when long story short, I sat at the bar. I was working on scheduling the post for this channel, and then we start talking, and it's Italian as well. So I started like talking about bartending, what it takes, blah blah blah, and he was incredibly knowledgeable. So I asked a little bit, how did you learn? Like, do you feel like teaching us this?
I wanna say passion, that's it. Because yes, I studied and always ask to the people, and I try to make cocktails. And actually, today in the world, we have the possibility to use the phone, laptops, So if you have a curiosity, maybe on a classic drink that no one knows, you can go on the internet, search, and try to make it. Because that's the trick. If you see something and you make something, you're impressed. You have this drink impressed in your memory.
100%.
100%. So, and I wanna say, I was super lucky because actually I have my memory in my hands. If I'm doing something, I remember it.
That helps
for
for the
everything.
job.
That helps a lot, because I don't wanna say that I know all the classics because it's impossible. But
Forgotten classics as well, it's difficult. You
that's
can
true.
learn the IBA with a little bit of effort and keep yourself up to date.
Exactly.
But yeah, and then maybe you can forget the winners of IBA cocktail competitions like the Vampiro, which popped in the list and was like a twist on the Bloody
So
Mary with garlic and stuff.
that's super
Stayed 1 year,
heavy.
you know.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm always trying to look at new cocktails, new classics, and propose to my friends, because actually I cannot stay during the job when working, use alcohol, prepare drinks for me, and maybe get tipsy in the job. So I always try to propose and to sell the drink to the guests, to my friends, and actually I increase another skill, like how to sell the product.
How to sell what you want about the products.
Exactly. That's the better way to say
The
it.
upselling,
Mhm.
I mean, long is my history on upselling, but yeah, you know, I just see people that are like, yeah, I sold this expensive tequila. I was like, what was the pitch for selling it? No, nothing. They just look at the menu and they order it. I was like, this is not really upselling. This is more just being there and just be lucky in taking the order from the person that want to drink nice and expensive. But this is not you targeting it. You targeting it means I want to sell this specific rye whiskey because I decided to kind of rotate the recipes and everything else. So maybe I can recommend like a view carré, for example, to kind of reduce the stock while improving also the knowledge of the customers on classics, forgotten classics, and everything in between. Maybe you can use this one. Maybe you can study how you want to upsell as well, and maybe you want to start thinking, maybe I can start mixing a cocktail because okay, but now it's getting busy, so maybe I can recommend it also as a straight pour. And in your case, you are recommending instead the cocktails that you want to practice on. So you will not forget one of the bases of the Long Island, as well as you will start remembering the recipe of a Vieux Carré, what are all the stuff inside.
Yes,
for example.
That's true. And you have to train your skills, because bartending, in my opinion, is not just make a drink. It's just to have a different kind of skill. Upselling, make a drink, talk with the people, be organized in your mind, be organized on your job. You have a lot of these things, and I want to say that I train a lot. And now I'm not saying I reach a good level where I can work in the 50 best, but
I think that entry level you could eventually, because
yes,
you have
think.
we were really being very nerdy in the talks, because as you can imagine, I'm a very detailed kind of person, and even when I was making a question, we were talking about the liquid intelligence kind of book. We're talking, which is, by the way, I will make a series of experiments using that upcoming soon. I'm just ordered the physical copy because I don't feel like making the videos with the pirate copy, you know. So I ordered the physical copy, but yeah, I didn't start filming them yet. But I will make all the experiment like tin against mixing glass, which one is better, let's check it out with all the stuff, you know, you need to order a bit of chemistry equipment. Or can you extend the shelf life of this cocktail to undetermined by using some processes or whatever else kind of experiment that is in there. And I will make them like bite by bite for you to enjoy.
There is a word behind.
Yeah.
A big word. A universe, I want to say.
I know, like, cocktails were created back in the days. In theory, the first written reference of cocktail is in 1806. As you can see, the old-fashioned video, want to rule them all or something like this, because the word cocktail was designed for the old-fashioned cocktail. that was essentially a whiskey cocktail back then, and then it started differentiating for different kind of aspects. But it started more than 200 years ago officially, but that's more the advent of the ice that made the drinks way easier to move, especially where people have more demand, which is in hot places like in the Caribbean and something. So, taking the Canadian ice and bringing it to the Caribbean necessitated some sort of transportation speed,
Yes.
some storage, and everything in between, because of course it's going to take a couple of months before you get it there, so it has to be conserved. So there were like a lot of stuff, but the cocktails actually exist since forever before. Say maybe 1500, 1600 that could be the first dating back to the first potions and stuff like this. Remember that also the English, while going to the colonies, they could not have water, and beer was not alcoholic enough and was usually going off. Then they discovered putting more hops. That would have been the IPA, but before that they were just mixing rum with anything else, like lime, lemon, whatever they could find, even to preserve it and kind of sterilize the glasses and everything in between. When you put this and that, and then if you have something that can sweeten it up, you already basically created a mixed version of a cocktail, even if it's made in a bowl or whatever else. So even if it was room temperature and was disgusting to drink back then, it was anyway better than getting like all the diseases that you can get by water going off. So there had been some processes in the cocktail existence, and now we are seeing another revolution with the bottled drinks, with all this shelf life that lets people actually jump into these kind of concepts. So I think it's a very fascinating moment in which we are now, because we are at the pinnacle of the understanding and about everything that we can craft as bartenders, and even at home at some degree. So we have all the knowledges to then transition to basically bartenders less bars and venues, everything delivered on demand and everything else. And I think that now we are in that last moment in which bartending is at its best ever, and we are really seeing everything possible happening. But of course, for this, you still need to have the passion to deliver.
Yes.
So yeah,
that's the important thing.
So let's say, except being like just curious and going in all the possible bars in all the renewed places, have you studied from somebody quite good? Did you go specifically in a bar that was a top 100, whatever?
So I never been in a top 50 or a top 100. Never.
Jerry Thomas project, it
Jerry
was
Thomas-
top 50.
It was, but back in time.
Mm.
I've never been there actually. I met a guy that was working there, no more now,
Mhm.
and he trained me. He started to train myself as a bartender, and I wanna say were super hard in the beginning, because actually it was like a machine, and I was just looking at him. So how you can do that? How that's impossible. You are so fast. You have a lot of accuracy. And he said that the important, when you are in the beginning, the important is to make a clean job. Doesn't matter about how you are going fast, because when you take confidence, you are going fast. But in the beginning, you have to start to be clean and with a good movement. Try. That's a good point that is in my mind since when I started, and I want to say that was the truth. Because actually,
you see so many bartenders that even if when they become decently good, because then when you become really good, then you are going to be clean and fast and accurate all at the same time, and you will do it seamlessly while you're talking, because you don't even realize that you are doing a great job. When you get at that level of mastery, then it doesn't really matter anymore, but that's the moment in which you can teach yourself.
Exactly.
But even before that, I see a lot of people that even in very nice cocktail bars, especially some nationalities, for some reason they never train on that. but they were incredibly messy and they were leaving a total mess, like the shaker always in the sink and everything else, which in the end and also make you look very bad from the personal and the professional point of view, because that means that you are dirty and you're okay with it. It also slows you down in an unconscious way, because maybe you are not cleaning that shaker and maybe it stays in the sink, or the bar top is not clean and then somebody tries to sit and then you need to wipe it in front of them to recover if you make it in time. You are not going to be looking good, so people will not even trust the way that you can mix drinks, because they will just see that, hey, you are not in control of your station, you know.
And you are changing the mood of the guests, because people are always watching what you are doing. They are always watching if the station is clean or dirty, and they judge your job because they are giving you money. So I want to have the best experience. So even if I don't think what are you doing, but if I'm seeing something dirty, maybe I don't care, but I'll change my perception of the drink and of the job. And actually you are losing point. Maybe you can make the best drink of the history, my favorite drink, you catch all my tastes. Yes, that's true, but bar has to be perfect, because you are giving a moment. You're giving a moment,
An experience.
Because
Because cocktail, the way I see it, is not about getting drunk in the end.
exactly.
Then you can get drunk with cocktails, you know, like 100%. But it's, if you want to get drunk, you just buy a bottle of vodka,
Exactly.
if you know what I mean, or a bottle of tequila, or you just buy something that is easy to down quickly. You don't want to have that craft for which the balance between the lime and the agave are perfect or something like this. You want something that is perfect when you're enjoying it like you would enjoy a plate of food. So if you're drinking it in that 10 minutes and you are really sipping and enjoying, and I wouldn't say more than that, especially in here we have a very large cube of ice, so I designed it to be able to talk for a while. But in general, the cocktail shouldn't be more than drunk in more than like 10 minutes, because otherwise the molecules start separating. So what you shake start separating in the glass. So either you keep swirling it, but it's not going to be the same. And even the dilution of the ice and the temperature at which it's perfectly served will also affect the drink itself. Because if you're having, for example, if you make an example and you take some whiskey and you put some sugar inside, and you drink it without angostura and you just drink it like this at room temperature, you will think, wow, this is super sweet. But then try to melt it down to chill it with ice for like a minute or two, and trying to have it when it's now cold with the same glass, the same stuff you had a sip of, you will feel that it's not that sweet any longer.
Exactly.
So if you are having a martini cocktail or a Manhattan, sweet Manhattan, which is meant to be enjoyed cold in that moment, if then you are having it when it already changed temperature, it's going to feel sweet and not balanced anymore. So it has to be drunk in that moment. It's like having a beef alla Wellington, has to be everything in that, made in that moment, because the consistency is going to be that. If you're then completely changing this profile, you will not enjoy it. You can enjoy it after 4 hours when it's cold and everything else, but it's not going to be the same, you know.
Yes. Totally agree.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of steps that I really feel make sense, especially in the modern world.
You have to be kind of nerd, cocktail nerd, I want to say.
Yeah, which is also another way, I believe, of saying that you are passionate about something that you're doing, because I mean it's a craft. You will not see anybody good in the job that they are doing or in the passion that they are following or the dream they're chasing if you don't see them actually applying some degree of pressure at least in learning as fast as they can and try to beat everybody else in some degree. Then you can be more competitive or less competitive, but it's just really about trying to take out the best that you can. And then if you have a passion, I remember when I was just in the beginning and I really wanted to get there every time. I was working 8-10 hours a day. I was getting home, I was still staying in front of the computer, watching videos, learning, reading
Yes.
blogs, and everything else for 2 to 4, 5 hours sometimes a day. And when I was not in front of the computer, many times I was in the cocktail bars. And instead of just partying, most of the times I was just keeping looking individually at every single bottle, like one, 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 one. Then I was like, wow, I don't know bochan. What is bochan? And then I was opening the phone and I was start reading about it. And I was okay, so now I know bochan. And then if I could afford it, I was ordering a shot of it. And if I couldn't, I was just reading it and then I was trying to figure out how can I try it as well because I was curious now. So yeah, I mean there's a lot to say. And then bartender, I think it's here in Switzerland we are well paid.
Yes.
On average, but anyway we are not well paid compared to other jobs. In other places in this world, the bartender is essentially the one that is paid almost the least in this world. Many times we also are unlucky because we are not making that much tips, because the waitress is going to make more tips and stuff. So if the wages are kind of balanced in a similar manner, you really need to be passionate, especially in Switzerland, to bartend, because you are not going to see as much money as you can in other roles for which you don't even need to have the qualification and the background knowledge of the molecular structure of the ice, like what it takes to do this or that, how to prepare this other thing, how to balance the ingredients, and you will not be paid as a chef even. So yeah, I mean it's just a passion, like
Just a passion, exactly.
you see like all the books and you see like all the things, like it's kind of a knowledge on this way.
You have to be passionate to work for something, for someone else. It's not just for you.
But for you, like since you've been so fast in learning all the knowledge now, is really kind of shy of what he can talk about. But I really talk with him, and he's really in complete control of the subjects that you're studying. So when you start getting to one topic, usually try to expand or something. Is there any other kind of insight that you would like to give to people to explain how to they can be all fast and good in learning? And this probably can apply to learning everything because it's about bartending, but it's probably about learning in general.
I wanna say you have to go deep. You have to go inside. You have to study and work at the same time. It's not like another job. Maybe I wanna say an office job that you enter at 8 in the morning and finish at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. It's like a job starting when you are wake up in the morning and finish when you're going to the bed in the night. That's it. Maybe you can work 8 hours, maybe you can be free for 8 hours, but you are always focused on what you want to do. Maybe I have an idea. Maybe I went to a restaurant or there was an ingredient that I want to use for maybe a combination of mixing, or maybe I miss an ingredient to create, in my opinion, a perfect drink. I miss an ingredient. I'm going to a restaurant. Always have a look of the ingredient, of something new, of what people are saying, or what people are doing, because you can take a lot of information if you're in the bar or if you're outside the bar. Just make a purpose and follow it. Because if you wanna reach this purpose, you can do it. That's the I wanna say the beautiful thing of the job. Because if today I am saying in 3 years I wanna go to work in one of the 50 best, wanna enter in one of the 50 best. If you're working hard, you can do it. Yes, that's the most beautiful things of this job, in my opinion.
So I remember when I went to make the trial for one of the top 50, was number 26 the year before, and I was applying. I was so scared when I was going for the trial shift, and like all the people that knew me, they were like, "Hey, you will be fine. They will choose you." there are like other 10, 15 people looking for the same job, applying the same job, but they're gonna choose you, don't worry, man. And I was like, yeah, what are you talking about? It's like, in the end, after not only they hired me, but they also put me as head bartender of this super famous cocktail bar, because they just saw that not only I had the potential as a bartender, but I also had the potential in making the prep, the organization, and I had the creativity to also push new recipes out and everything in between. So I was convinced that they would have not hired me for bartender. Instead, they hired me and they promoted me to head bartender within like a month, you know. So, and I was shaking there because I was like, they never gonna take me. It's like, look at this bar, you know, like this is insane. This speakeasy is insane, you know. And instead, then yeah, I was lucky, or maybe I was not even lucky, to be honest, because
I don't think it's question of luck. It's a question, and it's not question of about your skill. It's a question about your attitude, about who is your character. If you know how to manage pressure, that's I wanna say people, owners maybe that I wanna make an interview for the guys they are looking for, because actually everyone that is in the job
in the
has
top
skill.
50,
The top 50,
you need to have the knowledge is to
yes,
back that up.
maybe top 500.
Okay.
Yes, everyone has to know. Everyone has to know the job. That's easy, no? But attitude and character of the people is the most difficult part to find in a person.
That
You
to
have
also
to
balance it together and
exactly,
everything.
exactly. Because skills, okay, I can learn skills, but your passion, your character is your. You cannot change it for a job. Maybe you can change for your girlfriend or for a friend, but not for your job. Sometimes you have to put a mask. That's another point. You have to put a mask for your shift.
It's
Sometimes.
basically job requirement, I think. It's like, because usually I don't mask me as a person, but I have to mask myself as me as a happy person when I'm not happy. It's always a mask. Like, you just need to always not bring at work
Yes.
your stress, your problems, and nothing like that.
You can waste time. You can waste time to the guest. Maybe have a guest is super happy for something. He's enter on my bar, and so I'm so sad, and he's change. Maybe you can change his mood. So
Probably not a 5-star on Google.
maybe 3. So the bartender was a bit upset. I don't know why. I was super happy and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, still definitely not a good publicity for the place.
Yes.
Yeah. In the end, you always pay the premium in the bar world, because of course, like, you are paying the premium and you can buy something for €2 at the supermarket, but in the bar you're happy to pay like 7, 8.
Exactly.
You are going to have there the time to enjoy to forget your problems, and nobody goes in the bar to sober up. I never saw that happening and working, actually.
And you have more experience than me, so I
But,
only can agree with you.
but yeah. But on the point of, you can always learn from somebody, I just feel like remembering one time that I was in London. So I was still in. It was like more than a decade ago, and I was still on the uprising part of my career and knowledge, most importantly. And I just left the private members club, because after working a year and a half, because yeah, I was just not feeling it anymore. They wanted to promote me, and I declined because I wanted to keep learning behind the bar, and they wanted to put me as manager, basically like supervisor and then manager, but I did not want to, because I wanted to stay behind the bar and keep learning. They were like, "You're already super good," and I was like, "I don't think I am, not even half of what I want to be." So then they got upset, and then I had to change air, essentially, because yeah, you in a place that is so nice. I was serving the wife of a current American president back in the days.
Okay.
Can't make the
Nice.
names.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Grey Goose, Lime and Soda Cloud, in case you wonder. I will tell you the name after shooting. But yeah, and so yeah, there were like quite personalities. And after this, I went to work. It was my last 6 months in London, and all I wanted was just to have some fun. because after you work in such a pressure place that is more than a 5-star hotel service for so long, then you just wanted to chill a moment. So I went to Covent Garden to work in this cocktail bar. That was like a party cocktail bar, the way I call it, not like the super accurate, but it was like speed, go with God, happy hour, have fun type of place. And I was one of the best in there as well. But there were like some very good ones as well. We were 3 Alessandros in that place.
Wow.
Out of 6 bartenders.
Alessandro, what?
No, for real. We also took pictures or something of hugging while making the
You have
cleaning.
to find like a nickname.
Yeah, it was like Ale, Alex, Naneano, something like this. Something, yeah, it was like crazy. But anyway, and in this kind of situation, I was waiting up, and there was this bartender. It was like this young girl or something, and I literally remember this because I was there, and in that moment, I was thinking, "What am I doing in here? I'm just getting a drink, but I don't have anything to learn from these people." And I was just thinking this, think about how cocky I was, you know. So I don't have anything to learn from this girl, So like, why am I staying in the bar, In that moment, she was making 2 mojito, for which she took the 2 bar spoons, she flipped them, and that's the first time that I saw how to move the mint inside mojito, making it 2 drinks at the same time. For example, that's something that you can learn, but she had this kind of practical skills like in a summer club that I did not see before. So even if I was in that moment, I was really thinking she has nothing to teach me. And in that exact moment in which I just thought that, she teach me something that I'm using still nowadays when I'm making this kind of technique. After I refine it and make it my own, I'm still using it nowadays when I'm in that certain place that makes a lot of mojito, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So never stop learning and always be curious. I think is the strongest key, and the strongest key takeaway that we can bring out from this podcast. So I think that's it for today. Or do you feel like adding something?
That's it for me. So thanks for inviting me today.
Thanks for being here as well.
It was a pleasure to talk about someone that has my same passion to the job. And so thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And I will put all the links and Instagram of Andrea in case you just want to check it out after, if you want to connect, if you feel like it can add some value to some of your venues. You never know. And thank you very much. And you do next video or next podcast. Okay?
Ciao, guys.